fair city of Perth, once Scotland's capital city, known as St Johnston up until the 17th century. Occupied by English forces during the Wars of Scottish Independence, retaken by Robert the Bruce in 1313. And in the 18th century, a Jacobite stronghold where Prince Charles Edward Stuart held a council of war before the Battle of Culloden. Perth, the fairest city of them all.
And so he came into the room and said, "Wait till you see the size of this apple." So he went out, got back in again, and it was this huge thing. And I said to him, "Listen mate, that's not an apple, it's a turnip. No wonder your apple pies are so bad." Hello there. Well, today I'm in Perth. We're going to follow the course of Perth's old town wall, and you know, many towns and cities in the past had a town wall to protect them from any number of bad guys and conflicts in the past, or just to control who came in and out of the town or city. Perth's town wall and defences are quite unusual in that in addition to a wall there's also a water channel. You could almost call it a water-filled ditch, just a watery channel. In some cases it's also referred to as a lade because the water did drive any number of mills, in particular in that side of the town. In this side of the town, the channel was a little bit more processed, it's certainly wider, and it was referred to as a canal. You might have had the odd boat coming up that section of it. So it kind of varied, but the whole thing surrounded the town and was a defensive feature. You had the water channel on the outside of the town and the wall just on the inside, on the town side of that. So we're just going to follow the course of that, and perhaps we'll also be able to have a wee look at Perth in the process. We're going to start just not far away, just down Skinnergate there. It's the only part of the town wall that still exists in association with the water channel, and we'll end somewhere back there where you can still see the water channel. In that area it clearly drove a number of mills. The mill buildings are still standing. So I'll see you shortly, just over there. Yeah, so pies, yes, or not pies. Oh, what is pies? It's an apple pie, but it's just a turnip. It was turnip. Well, we're not far from Skinnergate, and this is the only part of Perth's old town wall that remains, and it is associated with part of the water channel that once surrounded and protected the city. Very hard to actually see it there. It's surrounded with bins and high walls, but hopefully we've got a little bit of a glimpse of it there. You can certainly hear the water flowing through it. You know, and the sign here says portion of old city wall, and I'm sure that's a sign that many visitors to Perth will miss. They won't even give this wall a second glance. I think originally the wall, when it was first created, along with the water channel, probably in the early 14th century. Would probably have been a wooden palisade type wall, and then as the centuries went by it would have been upgraded and turned into a stone wall. And the water channel itself, as I think we'll touch on during the course of this video, served a number of functions. Primarily defence, I think, but the other functions were, I think, just as important. But we'll kind of wander up this lane and head towards the River Tay.
You can get a pretty complete picture of Perth's moat, or ditch, or lade, or canal, or whatever you want to call it, and its associated wall in this crude map dating to 1774, where the blue-coloured channel of that watercourse is clearly shown. The southern section, where Canal Street is now, was filled in sometime around the beginning of the 19th century, but you can still see the northern section in this first edition Ordnance Survey map of 1860 and get a better glimpse of the size of the defended town, surrounded on all sides by water and on 3 sides with an additional wall. There's the River Tay, Canal Street, Canal Crescent, South Methven Street, and Mill Street. In a modern Ordnance Survey map, the old town of Perth is easy to spot, surrounded on all sides by the course of the A989 road, which creates an enclosed area just a little bigger than the original size of the old defended town. Here I have superimposed the course of the town's defences over a modern Ordnance Survey map. In this town plan of 1860, you can see the graceful curve of Canal Crescent and the lovely corner building between it and Charteris Street, now called Charterhouse Lane. In the past, Perth was particularly good at building very attractive corner structures. Many of the buildings on that plan are still standing, but some, like the Canal Crescent Chapel, look close to collapse. The same plan also shows the area of Mill Street close to Skinnergate, where the course of the city wall is clearly shown. In a military map of 1715, we see the town's Jacobite defences and get a clearer picture of the waterway that once surrounded and protected the town. If we zoom in, we can clearly see the water channel or lade on the north, which was much narrower than that on the south, which looked much more like an actual canal than a mill lade. And it's fairly certain that this would have allowed the passage of barges to and from the River Tay and the loading and unloading of goods. The narrower northern section of the water channel was mainly a mill lade, the water used to power water wheels and any number of industries, as seen in this map dating to 1818, which shows a linseed mill and an oil mill. As has already been said, it also served as a defensive barrier in association with the town wall.
Well, it's nice to come over the other side of the River Tay, even if just for a bit of peace and quiet. It's very noisy over there. There's an awful lot of work going on. At one point I thought I was maybe getting followed by a workman with an angle grinder. What a racket these things make. And just by way of an aside, nothing to do really with the video content, you could call this a little interlude. When I was on the train, there was a young lassie putting on her makeup, facing me, she was facing me. I couldn't get away from it. And this was a long process that went on for some considerable time. She had brushes of every shape and size, all sorts of potions and lotions. She was brushing stuff on, brushing stuff around, smearing it around, doing a wee bit more brushing. But why it took so long, I don't actually know. She must have been building up layers, I think. And I thought, do I really have to be kind of confronted with this? Do I have to look at this, you know? She's obviously doing it, you know, to save a bit of time. Rather than doing it in the house, she does it in the train. So I thought, well, maybe I could sort of adopt a similar sort of attitude. And when I'm on the train, just to save a wee bit of time in the morning, what I'll do is, when I'm on the train, I'll cut my toenails and pick dangleberries from my backside. And if you don't know what a dangleberry is, check your dictionary. Anyway, also when we're over this side of the river, we maybe get a better view of that a little. I don't know if you can see it from there. So towards the other side of the River Tay, just near this big bridge here, and you can see the arch, and I suspect that is where the town's watery defences emerged, because the River Tay formed one side of it. Hello there.
No, sorry, we got in the way.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, so the River Tay formed one side of the town's watery defences. No need to build anything there. Big river, nobody's going to go over that. And as I say, you can see where one part of the lade that sort of emerged, just with that kind of arch there. I hadn't noticed that the last time I was through. Very interesting. And you can maybe, I dare say, in other parts of this side of the river, you can maybe get a kind of better complete picture of the town from this angle, and you maybe see, i.e. that section and Canal Street. Canal Street is the other side of the town's watery defences, where it merged with the River Tay. And you know, it's not a hugely large area. You know, you can perhaps on maps and things you can see just how big the town was when it did feel the need to defend itself. Anyway, that's the rain back on. Rain, angle grinders, women putting on makeup. Well, that's South Methven. What name of the street? South Methven. I forgot the name of the street. South Methven Street, I think it is. And as I've probably said in countless occasions during this video, the original town wall and waterway that went with that. Came along Canal Street, then followed the curve of Canal Crescent up south Methven Street here, and then hit Old Mills just sort of over there, which is where we're going to kind of finish at really, and then headed down Mill Street. And you know, we will have been able to see the course of that on any number of old maps and plans. Very tempted to go into the B bar there. It looks strangely untouched and basic and infinitely more interesting than a lot of the kind of modern tarted up pubs that we get these days. But let's head for those mills. Well, in this part of the city, in this area, is where you can see the only other bits of the mill lade that are visible. And clearly behind me there's a mill, and in fact a number of mills. You've got the Mercure Hotel there, which if you go inside, they've got glass panels in the floor that you can see down into the water channel, and if you go into the sort of beer garden out back, you can also get a very good view of the mill lade and the water absolutely rushing through it. It's not difficult to see how that could easily have driven a huge water wheel. And I think this is where I'm going to end the video. That said, I may just go back to the High Street. That fair maid of Perth on the bench there, she was giving me the cold shoulder, you know. Might go back and have a few words with her. I'm Eddie Burns. Bye for now. And you know, on the train on the way here, and everybody was looking at their phone. Everybody in the carriage was staring into their phone. Not one person was looking up and looking at anybody. So I thought, well, I'll just look at them all. But then gradually, one by one, they looked up from their phone and saw me looking at them. And they obviously thought, what's that old guy staring at? And gradually, everybody in the train carriage looked up from their phone and was staring at me. So I thought maybe I better just look at my phone, you know.